Hi, this is Vernon again, and with part 20 of Chasing Time Travelers. So, in the other videos, I mainly talked about Chichen Itza and Uxmal. My theory is that Uxmal is a map of Asia, and Chichen Itza is a map of the Western Hemisphere. And that fits into a larger theory that basically says that the um, the ancient Mayan temple cities in the Yucatan are actually um, maps of intelligent life spread out across the heavens. And one of those, in other words, they're planets where there's intelligent life. So each city represents a planet where there's intelligent life. And one of those planets is one we know about called Earth. So like there's thousands of ancient temple cities in the Yucatan. There's the ones I've been to that I can think of now are Chichen Itza, um, which is, again, my theory is that's the Western Hemisphere. Uxmal, which is Asia. Mayapan, which, if you ever study the New Testament of the Bible, particularly the book of Revelation, and you walk through Mayapan, you'll notice some stark similarities. It's jarring, right? But that's for another discussion. And let's see. I've been to uh, I've been to Koba, Ekbalam, uh, about 25 cities. And when I enter a city that has a ball court, then I know I'm getting a tour of a planet, right? So I think it was Ashton Ka, which is outside of, I think it's just north of Chetumal which is at the southern border of Mexico, right? It's the border of Belize and Mexico. But I was at Ashton Ka, being eaten by mosquitoes. And my theory is that when I'm at Ashton Ka, I'm looking at a layout of a planet where they buried their people up in the mountains because there's this obvious skeleton that's buried up in the up high on this temple pyramid thing, and so whoever made the Yucatan Hall of Records, those cities, they're trying to teach us something. I don't know what they're trying to teach us or why or who they are. The Mayas say that they didn't build those cities, right? According to a reputable source, the Mayas say the Aleutians built those cities, and the Aleutians are basically um, 8-inch tall men people who can turn themselves into rocks and trees and make themselves invisible. And I don't really believe in Aleutians, really, right? Not at all, I guess. And but some people do. I'm sure. I'm sure. No offense to anyone, but I think time travel is a more likely option. Um, is more likely than Aleutians building those ancient temple cities, and so the way all this got started was I went to, that kind of brings us to this image right here. I started writing about, Templars and stuff like that in 2005. And in 2010, I wanted to finish the series. I had written 7 novels, and I wanted to get the first one published, right? And myself. And so I thought I would go to, wait, hang on. Yeah, right. I think I published that novel in 2010. I published it twice. First, it was published, I published it, and then I had too many mistakes in it, and then I redid it. In any case, so I went to the Cairo Museum back in the summer of 2010, and the reason I went, so this was a year before the revolution, which was fortunate because during the revolution they broke a lot of stuff in that museum, right? And word has it that it was sort of a conspiracy, that yes, there was political disagreement and unrest, and it was a real revolution. However, in quotes, word on the street is that um, some people cut a hole in the top of the museum and lowered themselves down, not so much to just break stuff, but they were looking for the what's that the not the Stone of Destiny. I can't think of the name now, but basically they're in the philosopher's stone, right? So in theory, the philosopher's stone is such that if you take a piece out of it, and I don't know if you cook it or something, put it in water, I forget, or just eat it, but that you get immortality. And so esoteric type people are saying, yeah, they were really looking for that. And actually, not just esoteric people. I'm pretty sure that Hawass said the same thing, that that's what they were looking for. Um, Hawass was the professor who was in charge of of all Egyptology, right? The whole country, and Zahi Hawass, and so nothing happened there without his permission. I mean, obviously until the revolution, right? And but I'm pretty sure I read that his opinion was, yeah, part of what was going on was people were trying to get to the philosopher's stone so they could achieve immortality. Um, in any case, so I was there for a week, and my goal was to see what the sun did. I wanted to see the shadow of the Sphinx at sunrise on the first day of summer. That's why I went there. And so I had about a week there, and so I sat on the roof at the Sphinx guest house, because when you're at that place, you sit on the roof. You're literally looking at the Sphinx and the three pyramids, about half a mile away, and everything is so massive. The distances are kind of hard to judge, but they're right in front of you. It's because the plateau is literally across the street from Gouda's, right? Gouda Fayed, the Fayed family that's been around a long time and have a lot of history with the Giza Plateau, and that's why they happen to have property right there, right? So yeah, I would recommend staying there. I think I paid $60 a night or so, some small amount of money, and I pulled my curtains aside and stare at the plateau, looking at the Sphinx. So I went up on the roof, and one morning before the solstice, and I sat there watching the shadow of the Sphinx, and I was like, "Holy smoke, that's interesting." So then I went back the next morning, but I asked a guy to come with me who I had met. He was a smart guy. He had a PhD in math. He was part of some spooky Star Wars things with under Ronald Reagan, and then he quit because of whatever reasons. I forget what he said. And he told me about secret underground Air Force bases, and various, at least one in out in the Midwest. And he didn't seem like the type to make stuff up, right? In any case, so he and his crew were going around the world, in quotes, activating the planetary grid. And so they were all into the Akashic records and the Hall of Records and stuff that I had never heard of until I went to Egypt, and I was just looking for a couple of photos and some interesting information for my novels, and that just kind of changed the direction of my life, in the sense that all that stuff you saw in the previous videos about the Yucatan and stuff, I never even heard of that stuff until I started investigating. I assumed it was all complete nonsense. I was like, so they would tell me about a Hall of Records in the Yucatan. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll just put it in my novel. You and I both know that's nonsense, but sure, I'll humor you and we'll talk about it. And so when I went to the Yucatan, I wasn't looking for the Hall of Records. I was just looking for. I just went there because everyone said in 2012 the world was going to end, and Yucatan and Chichen Itza was ground zero for the end of the world. I'm like, I don't think the world's ending in 2012, but I'm going to go there to find something cool for my novels, right? So another reason why, so I can ramble on there. Let me end this video in a moment. Hang on, next slide. Um, I could talk about this for a long time, and in some other video I will. But basically, if you look at this, did I say video? I meant to say image. So you can see the colossi right in the back. This is when you're leaving the Cairo Museum. They have it laid out so you follow this certain path, but this is the way out, and the last thing you see is just awesome, right? You see the colossi, which is one thing I really wanted to see in Egypt. And but then you see the Benben pillars, the Benben stones, right? And so you see this Benben stone. I looked at it for on and off for about 2 years until I realized what it was. It's a gorilla who's screaming a message, right? You see the circle with the dot, that's his mouth. That's like a baboon, right? And then I realized, wait a minute, that's arguably a baboon and an ibis, which is Thoth, the god of wisdom. And then I can't read hieroglyphics, but then I read a translation of the hieroglyphics, and it said something like, the Lord of the Sky flying around, and it landed in water and bounced back up. And I'm like, and this is like the main stone or whatever. And I'm like, if the stone lands in water, it's not going to pop back up. However, if you're talking about Lord of the Sky, um, now that I think of it, if you think about a spacecraft, right, the nose cone, right, those things fall from the sky, with a parachute, of course, and they land in water and they pop back up. And my theory is that what they're talking about here is a space monkey that somehow traveled through time. That's what I think they're talking about. So, in other words, they opened up the nose cone, and there was a gorilla in there screaming, right? That's what I think happened. And I'll explain more about this in terms of the pyramids, because I went inside the Great Pyramid, and it tells a story that you cannot understand unless you understand this Benben stone. Okay, thank you for listening to part 20 of Chasing Time Travelers.